So can you hear me now with the headphones?
I can hear you perfectly. Yes. Yes.
Good. Okay.
Yes.
So we were going to call that a bonus and still do other twos, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, we can do that. I just figured I'd
Right.
catch her while the energy was high, and
Yeah.
I was delighted that she said yes. It's just so much more fun, and it goes so much better when you're just coming off the energy. So, okay.
Cool. I'm trying to do better with show notes for all of us, myself included, but also with what we do,
Hmm.
because you've given us stuff like with from Craig and so much else. The biggest thing that's delaying me is I do this in the studio from my tower, my desktop Windows machine, and to use Adobe to change things to a PDF so I can more safely put it on the website without being screwed with by somebody else. I have to pay like I don't know $100 a year or some shit to use the Adobe software. If I use my Mac, I can transfer it to Adobe right there. So I have to email it to myself, go to the other room to my Mac,
Yeah.
and save it there and create the
Yeah.
PDF file and email it back. Well,
Yeah.
that's steps back and forth that apparently I'm too lazy to take.
Yeah. I
So my
totally.
thing for December is I'm getting better with the show notes.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah. When I do show notes for Be Inspired, if I do them right after the recording, I do a better job because it's fresh on
Yeah.
my mind. Otherwise, I have to go
Yeah.
back and listen to the episode again, which is not a bad thing. But, you know,
And that's
when you're
I try
doing,
to take a lot of them. So much of what I do for both, or not for both sides, now for up the middle, is done already because it's prep. It's shit that I
yeah,
want to talk about and so on, and the
exactly.
citations for it, the links to it, and whatever else.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I don't do it right away, I'll tell myself I'm going to do it at such and such point later, and that
And
point comes and goes, and it never gets done.
exactly. Exactly. So, talking about today, I there were some little things that happened throughout the week that I thought maybe we could chat a little bit about. We had a really nice opening for this Vivid exhibit that's currently at Studio B. And I had a fun conversation with one of our artists, Jim Meehan, and his wife, Deb. And we were talking about Thanksgiving and who did the cooking and, what do you make and what are the specialties. Anyway, it's just fun stuff to talk about. But one of the things we talked about is, and maybe you and I have already talked about this, like I've really, and that's why I was so curious I'll get it, during our interview with Amy Muzapapa a bit ago. Um, I'm interested in people's diets. You know, I'm
Yeah,
interested in, I'm just interested in that because right now I have decided in the last 6 or 9 months that I don't like regular full meals. I like a bunch of sides, is what my husband and I call it. And I'll have a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of something else and call that dinner.
that's
And
tapas, right?
what
That's very Mediterranean.
is
That's
it?
tapas. Yeah,
Oh, yes,
like
yes,
Spanish restaurants, Greek restaurants. There's a bunch
that's
of
right.
small plates.
Yeah,
And from a
yeah.
restaurant perspective, it's actually kind of brilliant. Is that you charge a little bit more than you would for a side because they're getting a little bit more than a standard side. But then
Hmm.
for everybody at the table to fill up, they
Hmm.
in the at the end order more food, and so it's a
Yeah,
bigger tab.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Anyway, so we were talking about Jim and Deb and I were talking about size, and he sort of liked it. And he went on to say that, he said it must be a cultural thing because I was raised that I have to have a plate full of food. And then, when I'm done with my plate full of food, I have to ask for seconds so that, so that people feel complimented that what they have provided I like. So he says I ended up eating more than I really want to eat, and I can appreciate that. So anyway,
but
I'm
that's
into
you're supposed to belch.
I, I'm into sides right now. So
As a compliment to the chef, you're supposed to also belch. That means that you've been really content and enjoyed the meal.
Yeah, I haven't
At least
mastered
that's always been my grandfather's excuse.
that. Is that his excuse? Huh? Very
Yeah,
good.
Susie's
Very good.
Susie's dad.
That's good. That's good. So anyway, so we had that, and like we talked about, I think in one of our previous episodes, the Before I Die wall
Yeah,
had some problems, but I mean,
still.
somebody wrote recently on it, real big letters across the top, something about please, I stop writing these nasty messages. So it's really, it's really been a cool thing as a result of that. So it's supposed to come down though because Amy said it's getting warped, and so I don't know what they'll do
I
with
mean,
it from that point. Yeah,
it's been out in the weather for how long now?
since June, the end of June,
Yeah,
so 5 good months. It's coming up on five
yeah,
good months.
right.
So there's that. There's that. But you had a list of things that you were going to talk about. So what do
Yeah.
you got?
Now I gotta. You know what? It's on my text to you, so I can pull it off of that quick.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I have it
one of the
too.
one of the
Oh,
things.
I wanted to hear about the Boston Globe. Did you want to
Yeah,
update that?
yeah. So that ain't happening.
Ah,
Wait, where is it? Why did I? Ugh. You'd think this is should be so much easier. There we go. Yeah. So the Boston Globe. I'm smelling bullshit. I'm just going to
oh,
play it. I'm just going to play it like I kind of sort of got fired and kind of turn it into my Howard Stern persona. Um,
okay.
but he contacts me back in May during week one of Up the Middle. I just started Up the Middle, and already I'm getting contacted by the Boston Globe to become part of their team. Let's start talking, and we do. August comes around. I haven't heard from him for a little bit, but August comes around and he says, and I quote, next month, meaning September, we're diving headfirst into this. Okay, I'm ready. I've got a radio station by this point. I've got a
Mm-hmm.
radio show. I'm now part of two podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
If you want more than Up the Middle, I can offer it. If all you want is Up the Middle, I've got plenty of ways to help support it, with marketing.
Right.
September comes and goes. Middle of October, um, I hear something. I have to go back and check. I hear something from him beginning of middle of October. Finally, after like 6 weeks um, of silence, then nothing. Then the Sunday before Thanksgiving, Sunday, I get a text. Hey, we've been busy on something else. Um, Sorry, because I had been, I'd emailed, I'd messaged, I called. I'm doing this and this on today's episode. You might want to listen.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of shit. Nothing, no response until Sunday before Thanksgiving. He texts and he says we've been busy with some other. He's been busy with clients. I don't. The Boston Globe is your client. I don't know what other clients you're busy with,
Mm-hmm.
but he's been busy with other clients. Can we set up a meeting to just kind of refresh and pick up from there because we really want to get moving? That meeting was supposed to be, virtually, of course, Wednesday. 20 minutes before the meeting, I get a text message or an email saying that he has to push it off to the same time the next day, Thursday. He's busy with a client again. Can't do it. I'm like, okay, thanks. I'll see you then. Thursday comes and goes. I'm on the link that he gave me for the meeting. Sit there a half an hour. Nothing. Now, yesterday he could message me to change the meeting. Now, today, he can't even do that. Friday comes, I get a phone call,
Mhm.
and they're going a different direction. And he elaborates to say that they're not doing podcasts, which is a lie because I've been on their website plenty of times. They've been doing podcasts since July. They suck, and none of them are on. No, three of them are actually ongoing, meaning like you and me. It's not a series where we have this goal to accomplish, and then once that's accomplished, it's over.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's an ongoing thing. They have three that are ongoing. They have one about like prostate cancer, another one about technology, and a third one about something else, whatever it is. Oh, Aaron Hernandez was a receiver for the New England Patriots who was kind of sort of a gang member too and
Yeah.
had somebody whacked. And then he went to prison for it. And while he was in prison, he hung himself. There's a whole expose about that, actually done by Spotlight, that group of reporters at the Globe that are like all investigative journalists. They're kind of like spies and they find shit and tell the world about it. Um, but the others are like there's a sports one and there's one for like Rhode Island and there's one for something else. It's all very micro
Right.
targeted,
Yeah.
nothing for a mass audience. So your
Right.
podcasts are dying because the season ends, not because they suck. Your
Right.
system sucks, and that's
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So he and th- Thursday's meeting, there was a name on the link as another host, as a co-host.
Mhm.
So I've spotlight a little bit myself and found her contact information.
Mhm.
He has told me that he answers directly to the chief operating officer of Globe Media, who I've also found. Her LinkedIn profile says the same thing. Now, I'm not going to put that on a networking platform like LinkedIn if I'm bullshitting people about it and then go and tag the Boston Globe to their actual website.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing she's a real deal. And that, makes perhaps he also answers directly to the chief operating officer. I'm going to write him and tell him and say, hey, here's what's happened. And oh, by the way, your guy bought me a hotel room in Tampa after I told him I didn't need it for after our quote unquote dinner. Is this what you do for all your potential podcast hosts? And then not show up and cancel the next day. And we'll see what comes from that. When I also put it into send him the link to the podcast episode that I tell everybody about it on. And
Mhm.
here's what you're missing
How
out on.
how frustrating or
I mean,
confusing or both or something.
I kind of sort of when the hotel room debacle happened back in late July or early August, I kind of thought, okay, this guy says he knew me from when I was in DC, and I had no idea who the hell he was. I found him on. He found me through LinkedIn. Found him there. I have no idea. Don't recognize him. Um, and yeah, I just with the hotel room thing. When I told him I only live 45 minutes away from Tampa,
Mhm.
uh, and again, I got to be careful. I don't want to give the address out, but I don't live far away from Tampa.
Mhm.
I don't need a hotel room.
Mhm.
He was like, well, if we'll have some drinks if you get too much. And I'm like, I have a dog to take care of. At that, yeah, just one dog at that time. I have a dog to take care of who right now is not doing well alone for too long. I
Mhm.
will be going home, even if it's the most expensive cab ride in my life. And it was just the whole pushy gay thing, not take no for an answer until I said, I'm not going to be there. I
Mhm.
will see you at dinner, and that's it.
Mhm. Did you
And
do
I had to be
dinner?
that firm with
No. Did
him.
you
No,
do
because he
dinner?
can't. He was in Orlando. He was in
Mhm.
Orlando, and that's the whole. He was down here for Disney to because he was
Okay.
working something with Disney, and that was supposed to impress me too. Yeah, well, my governor is working something for Disney. How's that
Mhm.
turning out for him? Uh, so yeah, he was down here for Disney. He was gonna make the quick jump down to Tampa and meet with me, and he was going to help me get sponsors for for Yergz Radio, all kinds of. We were going to make a whole day out of it.
Mhm.
You know, showing some level of actual interest in presumably up the middle.
Mhm.
And I sensed the whole back of my mind. I said, "Don't get too attached
Mhm.
because the rug is pretty slippery and it's going to get yanked out from under you."
Mhm.
And that's what happened. But I wasn't standing on it at the time
Hmm.
because when he called Friday, I don't know if I said this. He eventually called Friday. No scheduled caller, and just called and I'm like, should I take this or should I send it to voicemail? And I'm like, yeah, I'm here. I'm not busy. I'll be the professional one and take his call.
Mhm.
And that's when he said, and just very short, very quickly apologetic for missing Thursday. Clearly could have, he was reading that off of a script.
Mhm.
And then said, we're going a different direction. We're going to try with live events. And I was talking about this with my therapist today who lives up in Massachusetts. She said that not Boston, New York, Harvard and the city of Boston and the state of Massachusetts are very much into the educational conferences thing.
Okay.
And all those entities, Harvard,
Mhm.
Boston Globe, they all have the same board members.
Mhm.
So they're all doing the same thing.
Mhm.
So, maybe he did get told that the things are changing at the last minute,
Mhm.
but what doesn't smell right is him telling me in August that in September they're diving into it head first.
Mhm.
Then the Sunday before Thanksgiving, he wants to have a I forget what he called it now, but the title of the meeting, the virtual meeting that never happened, was supposed to be like uh is it still here? Regroup. So, I mean, that doesn't sound like I'm getting axed
Mhm.
if he's regrouping with Ross.
Mhm.
And if you're just calling Friday to cancel it, the whole thing, why not do that in the text the previous Sunday?
Mhm.
Hey, we're going a different direction. This sucks. I'm going to miss working with you, but we're going to work on live events instead of podcasts.
Yeah.
Good luck with your show.
Yeah.
So, like the therapist tonight, do I want to be a George Santos and take everybody down with me as I'm being kicked out the door,
Mhm.
or just play as I called it the Howard Stern card and make it look like I got fired because I'm turns out I'm not what they want,
Mhm.
which is true.
Mhm.
And then just when I have some free time, email that COO and say, hey, here's how your people represent you,
Mhm.
and here's what I would have charged for a year worth of 100. I did the math. If I got paid $1,000 a month as a flat rate to do 2 episodes a week for 50 weeks, giving me 2 weeks off, that would come out to 100 episodes. And I figured that I would spend at least, and this is rounding down, but at least 2 full work days per episode.
Mhm.
So 16 hours for 30 minutes. That basically, long story short, came out to $7.50 an hour.
Oh my God.
And I would be like,
Yep.
congratulations, you matched federal minimum wage.
Mhm.
And you can't even do that.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I'll
Well,
probably rant about it a little bit. I know they do shit like this so that so that you eventually talk about them on something like your podcast, and here I sit talking about them. So I guess it worked. But
Mhm.
if I do that, I'll probably like send a link to in the email or
Mhm.
whatever method I contact the guy. And say, here's what's going to be on the internet for the rest of your life.
Mhm. Hmm. How frustrating and confusing and yeah. Anyway,
So anyway,
this and disappointing.
yeah,
But there's all kinds of things out there that, you know.
it is and it isn't disappointing. Like I said, I was making sure that I wasn't standing on the carpet with both feet
Mhm.
because I felt like it was going to get yanked at any minute. And so I'd rather it get yanked now than 6 months into it when they decide, they try to give me some suggestions on what they think I should do and
Right.
kind of control me through a back door, which we said was never going to happen.
Yeah.
And then they yank it then. And now I've got the whole, oh, well, I didn't work out as a podcaster with the Boston Globe. It's not like I got fired for being too Howard Stern like. It would have been because I wasn't performing.
Mhm.
And that would be harder to shake than this at this stage.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And on top of
Absolutely.
that, I've already contacted another agency out in Los Angeles that's
Mhm.
interested. I got to put some things together for them, but they're interested in becoming my agent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'll have an agent. You can
Wow.
next time you want to schedule an episode, you can call my people.
That's so funny. Well, I
It's so
know,
LA.
I mean, there are all kinds of stuff going on, and I don't know about, it sounds like the guy works for the Globe and just is not, you know, not up there in management enough to make any firm decisions or
Oh
promises or
yeah, no,
anything
he's a
like that.
headhunter. He does
Um,
have a Globe address, and so does this other girl that he was supposed to be on the meeting with me.
okay.
But so I know that part is at least legit that far into it.
Okay.
I'm going to try and find out. I'm gonna probably excuse me. I'm probably gonna message her through LinkedIn and just kind of do the math and use maybe the same format, first
Hmm.
name dot last name at
Hmm.
globe.com,
Hmm.
just like his email address is, and see if it lands. Send
Yeah.
I'll attach a sent receipt, and if I get that back confirming, okay, I know I got a good address.
Yeah.
Now I just sit and wait and see if she gets back to me with anything.
Yeah. 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 Huh. Anyway, here we are, and you're looking
Yeah,
at securing an agent in Los Angeles. That'll be cool.
yeah, they've got offices like Miami and New York, I think too.
Hmm.
So yeah, see what happens.
Anyway, so part of your list that I'm looking at, in addition to
Yep.
the update for the Boston Globe, had something to do about David on humility. What are we
Oh
talking
yeah,
about?
yeah. So see if I can get that too. Yeah, so I'm going to actually reach back out to him. He did his first live show last night, by the way,
No
with the
kidding.
new. Well, I mean, he's done live shows with Yergz Radio before, but now that we have a new host where we can have, like, if you did a show, you can actually log on to our account and do the show without me. As long as created a profile for you as one of our live DJs, you can do that without me. When we were with Live 365, that wasn't the case. You would have had
Hmm.
to, through Riverside FM or whatever, send your show to me, and I'd have to sit there for the whole show and put it out over the radio as
Yeah,
the one login for our account.
I
So
understand.
now that
Yeah.
he's got that, he was really nervous that the app that we use for that wasn't going to work, and
Hmm.
turns out it worked perfectly right
Fantastic.
as it was supposed to. And so he did the episode when we tried it last week, and then he did the episode on Sunday without me even connecting with him at all. So uh, I'm happy about that because we got some others that want to do the same thing, and I want to do that for Yergz Radio is bring more live content to it as opposed to the constant automation that we have right now.
Hmm. Very good. So
So
you,
yeah, I'm going to be reaching out to him and asking his advice. Long story short,
oh, okay.
about the humility that he told us about when he was here on the episode, when he said about have your own level of humility, be ready to accept that you may be wrong.
Hmm.
Because one of the things I want to do here in Florida is go into Trump country and have people over to like a local town hall or conference or library or bar and ask them, without me telling them they're wrong,
Hmm.
ask them as a political scientist, at least by education,
Hmm.
what is your appeal to Donald Trump? And to what level will you support him and then maybe not support him? Like, I already know that I think it's something like 64% of Americans have said that if he gets convicted of one felony, they're out. They will not vote for him if he gets convicted of something like that. Well, why do you think what is it, Sidney Powell? I keep wanting to say Sidney Crosby. He's an NHL hockey player. Sidney Powell, a former United States attorney,
Hmm.
was so quick to take a plea agreement. She knows what evidence is there. She's part of it. And why do you think they've already said they will not take agreements, plea deals from Trump, Giuliani, or Meadows? They will go to trial.
Wow.
That's because they know what the answer is going to be.
Yeah.
And every other case is like that. The thing with the Stormy Daniels in New York
Hmm.
and with what's his name, Cohen, Michael Cohen being the lead witness for that. Every time you have somebody who flips, the biggest thing prosecution has to get past is the fact that probably that person has lied. Now, are they going to lie on the witness stand?
Hmm.
Well, the thing he keeps constantly saying is, I didn't lie about whether or not I paid off Stormy Daniels. The only thing I lied about was the number of times that Donald and I talked about it. And is that a lie, or is that just somebody who got the number wrong?
Hmm.
So that case is pretty much sewn up. Because the other thing, for him to cop that plea to what he pled to, he couldn't have pled to that without incriminating Trump as well. And the prosecution can't accept that plea unless they know Trump is actually involved. So right there, Trump's guilty.
Right.
If he gets found not guilty, Cohen's plea doesn't stick.
Hmm.
And all the others are just like it. The 14th Amendment case in Colorado,
Hmm.
that judge said he took part in an insurrection. I don't believe that was proper due process for her to say that. And this one I'll go with Trump on. That doesn't mean that he didn't do it. That just means I think there should have been a different route for that verbiage to come out.
Hmm.
But then she turned around and said that he has executive immunity because he is not mentioned. The president is not mentioned in the 14th Amendment. Like, well, what the hell do you think any officer, excuse me, what do you think any officer means?
Means. Right.
So, just with the humility, I'm going to go to David, ask him for his advice, and see, because obviously he's done plenty of research on this, with the whole anger side of it. What have you been hearing that might be a legitimate argument
Well,
to support Trump?
what I want to know is how, because I think we talked about this in a previous episode. I mean, it was my idea also, or what I was going to do was do a series of talking to people I knew were Trump supporters
Yeah,
and
that you
ask
said
them,
that lasted all of one episode, and you're like, yeah,
right?
no,
I couldn't do it. And
yeah,
so I want to know, I want to know how, and maybe it's because I just didn't listen long enough or have the questions, but I just listened to this particular individual talk about something that I did not believe to be true and felt like I had to say that. So you're not going to be able to, you're not, you're planning not to disagree. You're planning not to provide alternative facts. What do you,
right.
how are you going to handle that?
Smile and nod,
Wow. You're a
and,
better
and
man than I
you're
am.
that's well. I hope I'm a better man than you are.
I didn't know if
You're not
you'd
setting the
catch
bar high there. I don't mind saying.
that. Anyway, so you're going to smile and nod and okay.
Yeah,
Thank you for participating. Yeah.
yeah, and I think I thought about a bunch of different formats. I thought like maybe having an assistant, and one of the things I thought about doing is having somebody there with me as like an assistant taking notes. And if I ask you, ma'am, why do you support Donald Trump? Well, he really fixed the economy. Assistant writes down economy as one of the reasons.
Mhm, mhm,
And then at the end of the group verbal session,
mhm,
that assistant is going to print out a form that's going to have all these different things on it
mhm,
and tallying, how many other people said economy. And then we'll give them a secret ballot, anonymous,
mhm,
and say, okay, we're going to do everything again. If you've changed your mind on anything, mark or don't mark that topic and see if the end results are numbers as high as when everybody was visible to their friends.
okay. So you think there'll be enough conversation from other people in the group that would create some that would that would cause some people to change their minds?
I think some of them have changed their minds already and they're afraid to say it.
Oh, okay.
Because my hypothesis then, when we interviewed David, and for the longest time, has been pride. That they're too proud to admit they've been hoodwinked
Yeah.
and taken advantage of by a professional fraudster. The guy who's made a life of bullshit.
Hmm.
Hey, gang, it's Yergz. After Jane and I recorded this week's bonus episode, we got into the two regular episodes, which kind of blended together. So we found a good place to break, and that's right here. This is the end of episode 1. Hang tight for episode 2.